Not everything in your mind belongs in the open world. Machiavelli understood a simple truth that most men learn too late. Information is power, and once it leaves your mouth, you no longer control it. The more people know about your plans, your emotions, your weaknesses, and your private life, the less power you have over your own outcomes. In a world driven by competition, envy, and hidden motives, oversharing becomes a form of self-sabotage. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. You might not see us again. This is why the strongest men are often the most reserved. They do not speak to be understood. They speak only when it benefits them. In this video, we break down 7 secrets you must never reveal if you want to stay respected, unpredictable, and in control of your life. Each secret is a key part of your mental and emotional privacy. Once exposed, they can be used against you, sometimes immediately, sometimes years later. Machiavelli warned that a man who cannot guard his tongue cannot guard his future. So before you trust anyone with everything about you, understand this. Silence is not weakness, it is strategy. And what you choose not to reveal may be the very thing that protects your power, your position. Your long-term plans and ambitions are the first secret you must never reveal. Because the moment you speak too early, you expose something that is still weak, unfinished, and vulnerable to interference. Machiavelli understood that power is not only about action, but about timing. And timing dies the moment you start talking too much. When a man announces what he wants to become, he hands the world a preview of something that is not yet protected. People begin to form opinions, and opinions turn into resistance. Some will doubt you simply because they are threatened by your direction. Others will pretend to support you while secretly hoping you fail. Even worse, some will copy your idea and move faster than you because you gave them the blueprint before you built the foundation. Ambition is like a seed. It must grow in silence before it becomes strong enough to survive external pressure. The early stage of any plan is the most dangerous stage because it has no results to defend itself. It only has words, and words are weak against opposition. This is why the most dangerous mistake a man can make is to speak about his future too confidently. Once people know your destination, they start placing obstacles on your path, sometimes openly, and sometimes in hidden ways you will not notice until it is too late. Machiavelli warned that men are not moved by your dreams. They are moved by their own interests, and if your ambition disrupts their comfort, they will quietly work against you. Even those close to you can become unpredictable when they feel left out or inferior to your vision. Silence protects your momentum. When you do not announce your goals, you move without resistance. You avoid unnecessary pressure, judgment, and emotional interference. You also give yourself the freedom to adjust your path without explaining every change. A man who speaks less about his future stays flexible, while a man who speaks too much becomes trapped by expectations. There is also a psychological advantage. When people do not know what you are building, they cannot measure you, and what cannot be measured cannot be easily attacked. Let your progress stay invisible until it is undeniable. Let your results introduce you, not your words. In the world of Machiavelli, visibility before victory is a form of weakness. True power is built in silence, executed in silence, and revealed only when it can no longer be stopped. Your sources of income and financial details are the second secret you must never reveal, because money is one of the fastest ways to change how people see you and how they treat you. Machiavelli understood that wealth is not just about comfort, it is about power, influence, and perception. The moment people know how much you earn or how you earn it, they begin to categorize you. study you, and quietly adjust their behavior around you. Some will start to envy you without saying a word, and envy is dangerous because it does not need logic to grow. It only needs comparison. Others will begin to test your boundaries, asking for help, favors, or loans they never intended to repay, because in their mind your money becomes public property once they understand your flow. Even worse, some people will pretend to respect you while silently tracking your financial situation, waiting for a moment of weakness or opportunity. When your income is exposed, you lose flexibility in how you move socially. People begin to expect a certain lifestyle from you, and expectations become pressure. You are no longer free to upgrade or downgrade your life without judgment. Machiavelli's warning is simple. The more visible your resources are, the more controllable you become. Money attracts attention, and attention attracts interference. If people know you are doing well, they may try to attach themselves to you for gain rather than genuine loyalty. If they think you are struggling, they may lose respect even if you are building something stronger in private. This is why silence around your finances creates protection. It keeps your real position unknown, and what is unknown cannot be easily targeted. A man who reveals his income invites comparison, but a man who hides it controls perception. You decide what people assume about you, instead of letting numbers define your identity. There is also a deeper psychological layer here. When people do not understand your financial structure, they cannot predict your next move. Predictability weakens power because it allows others to prepare responses to your actions. But financial privacy keeps your strategy invisible. It allows you to invest, save, build, and pivot without outside pressure or emotional interference. Machiavelli believed that control begins with information control, and your financial life is one of the most sensitive forms of information you own. Protecting it is not about fear, it is about strategy. The less people know, the less they can manipulate, expect, or demand from you. Real financial discipline is not only about how you earn or spend, but also about what you choose not to reveal. A man who speaks loosely about money gives away power he does not realize he is losing. A man who stays quiet keeps his advantage, builds in peace, and lets results, not rumors, define his value. Your emotional weaknesses are the third secret you must never reveal. Because once people understand what controls your emotions, they no longer need to fight you directly. They can simply influence you. Machiavelli understood that a man is most vulnerable not when he is poor, not when he is struggling, but when his emotions are exposed and readable. Emotional weakness is like giving other people access to your internal switches, the buttons that trigger anger, fear, jealousy, attachment, or insecurity. Once those buttons are known, control becomes effortless for others. They do not need force, they only need timing and observation. This is why a man who reacts emotionally in front of others slowly loses authority over how he is perceived. People begin to test him without even realizing it, pushing small triggers just to see what he will do, because predictability gives them psychological leverage. Machiavelli believed that control begins with concealment, and nothing should be more concealed than the things that disturb your inner balance. When you openly show what affects you emotionally, you are teaching the world how to manipulate your state of mind. In relationships, this becomes even more dangerous. If someone knows exactly what hurts you, they can use affection, silence, or distance as a weapon. If they know what excites you, they can control your attention. If they know what makes you insecure, they can shape your decisions without ever issuing a command. Emotional exposure turns influence into control, and control into dependence. A man who cannot hide his emotional reactions becomes easy to read, and a man who is easy to read is easy to steer. Machiavelli valued unpredictability because it creates fear and respect at the same time. When people cannot fully understand how you will respond, they become careful around you, and that caution protects your position. Emotional discipline does not mean absence of feeling. It means mastery over expression. You still feel anger, disappointment, love, or frustration, but you do not allow these emotions to leak out in ways that weaken your authority. The moment you externalize every internal reaction, you lose the ability to control how others interpret you. There is also a deeper psychological layer. Emotional restraint forces self-control. When you stop relying on others to validate or soothe your emotions, you become internally stable. That stability is power, because it removes dependency. A man who depends on emotional reactions from others becomes easy to manipulate. But a man who regulates himself internally becomes unshakable. Machiavelli would describe this as the difference between being led by impulse and leading with intention. In a world where people constantly watch for emotional weakness to exploit, silence becomes armor. Not the silence of ignorance, but the silence of control. The less others know about what moves your emotions, the less power they have over your decisions. In the end, emotional secrecy is not about pretending to be cold. It is about refusing to hand out control points to people who may not deserve them. Your next moves in relationships or business are the fourth secret you must never reveal. Because the moment people know what you are about to do, they stop reacting to you and start reacting against you. Machiavelli understood that power is not only about strength, but about surprise. When your intentions are exposed too early, you lose the advantage of timing, and timing is often the difference between success and failure. If people know your next step, they begin to position themselves ahead of you. In business, competitors may copy your idea, block your opportunity, or move faster using your own information. In relationships, revealing your intentions too early can create resistance, manipulation, or emotional games that slow you down. People naturally adjust their behavior when they feel they are being acted upon. Once your plan is known, it is no longer just your plan. It becomes everyone's concern. Machiavelli warned that men are not neutral observers. They are participants driven by self-interest. If your move benefits them, they may support you. But if it threatens their position, they will quietly work against you. This is why silence is a weapon. When you do not reveal your next move, you keep people uncertain, and uncertainty creates hesitation in others, while giving you freedom to act without pressure. A man who speaks too early forces himself into a corner where he must defend words, instead of focusing on execution. But a man who moves quietly avoids unnecessary debate, criticism, and interference. There is also a psychological advantage in secrecy. When people cannot predict you, they cannot prepare for you. This gives you control over momentum. You decide when to strike, when to shift, and when to reveal results. In relationships, this principle is even more powerful. If your intentions are too clear, you may be taken for granted, tested, or emotionally manipulated before you even act. But when your actions speak before your words, people respond to reality, not expectation. Machiavelli believed that men who announce their intentions lose authority over outcomes because they surrender control of perception. Power belongs to the one who controls timing, not the one who explains it. Keeping your next move private also protects your emotional energy. The more people know, the more opinions you receive, and opinions can weaken confidence. You start second-guessing yourself, adjusting your plans to fit other people's comfort instead of your own goals. Silence removes that pressure. It allows you to focus fully on execution without distraction or interference. In the end, success favors the unpredictable. When your next move is hidden, you remain in control of the game while others are still trying to understand the rules. Your personal struggles and private battles are the fifth secret you must never reveal. Because not every pain is meant to be public knowledge, and not every listener is your ally. Machiavelli understood that weakness becomes dangerous the moment it is exposed to the wrong audience. When you share your struggles too freely, you are no longer controlling your story. You are handing it over to people who may reinterpret it, distort it, or use it against you later. A man who constantly reveals his problems invites two types of people into his life: those who pretend to care, and those who quietly collect information. The first group gives temporary comfort but no real solution, while the second group stores your weakness for future advantage. In both cases, you lose something valuable: your privacy and your control. Struggles are part of growth, but they lose power when they are turned into public conversations. Machiavelli believed that endurance in silence builds inner strength, while emotional exposure too early builds dependence on outside validation. When you talk too much about what you are going through, you start to live for reactions instead of results. You begin to measure your pain by how others respond, instead of focusing on solving it. This weakens discipline and delays progress. There is also a social reality that cannot be ignored. People respect outcomes more than stories. When you are in the middle of struggle, not everyone has the maturity or loyalty to handle that information correctly. Some will judge you, some will distance themselves, and some will treat you differently even after you recover. Machiavelli's warning is simple: what you reveal in weakness can permanently shape how others perceive you in strength. That is why silence during difficult moments is not emotional suppression. It is strategic protection. A man who suffers quietly retains control of his image, while a man who speaks too freely risks being defined by his lowest moments. There is also a deeper psychological benefit to privacy and struggle. When you stop externalizing your problems, you are forced to confront them directly. You stop performing pain for sympathy and start building solutions for progress. This creates resilience, independence, and clarity. Not every battle needs witnesses. Some battles are meant to shape you in private, so that your return is stronger, not weakened by exposure. Machiavelli understood that power is not only in how a man wins, but in how he endures without breaking his image. The world does not need to know your internal wars. It only needs to see your eventual victory. Keep your struggles close, solve them with discipline, and let your silence become part of your strength. In the end, the man who survives quietly becomes far more dangerous than the man who complains loudly, because he learns, adapts, and rises without ever giving his opponents a map of his weakness. Machiavelli's warning is simple but powerful. What you reveal can be used to control you. Your plans, your money, your emotions, your next moves, and your struggles are all forms of private power. Once exposed, they stop being yours alone and become tools others can use for judgment, manipulation, or competition. Silence is not about hiding weakness. It is about protecting advantage. A man who learns to speak less and observe more gains control over outcomes instead of losing them to outside influence. In the end, those who master secrecy master stability, and those who master stability master life itself.